With this tutorial, we're going to create carbonation inside the bottle and outside the bottle using the effects in After Effects. We're going to start by importing the Photoshop file itself. I'll go to File, Import File, select my PSD, change it to Import as Footage to Import as Composition Retain Layer Sizes, and click OK. Next, I want to create a composition that will be the same proportions and resolution that it will need to be once it's moved into Photoshop. I'll go to Composition, New Composition, and I'm going to make the pixel aspect ratio 1700 pixels wide and 2200 pixels high. Now I'm going to move my bottle image into my comp window. And now I'm going to create a new solid layer. I'll go to Layer, New, Solid. And if I wanted to, I could start to introduce the colors I wanted for the bottle here, or I could leave it any color it might be because the effect itself will allow us to change the colors as well. I'm going to go to Effect, Simulation, and I'm going to choose CC Particle System 2. And I'm going to drag my timeline through to about 30 seconds to see the expanse and range of the actual effect. I'll first open my Physics tab, and I'm going to drag on the gravity slider. And if you drag it to a minus number, you'll see that the effect is now pointing upward. I'm going to move this down now to the bottom so the whole document is filled with the effect, and then I can adjust this once I get into Photoshop. I'm now going to open up the particle system, and I'm going to change it from line to shaded spheres. Next, I'm going to change the birth and death size, and I'll pick a random number, perhaps of 0.25 for each of these to keep it somewhat consistent. Now I'm going to change the birth rate, which will allow me to increase or decrease the number. Now position it over the top of the bottle. I'm scaling up the bottle just for this particular tutorial. Again, you can use this however you choose. And by bumping up the scale of the bottle, now I can move it down, and then I'll move the Effects tab up to the top of the bottle. Now if I wanted to, I could change the color on the left in the Effects channel by changing the birth and death color. Probably to one color is a good way to go because you can always change the color, value, etc. once you get into Photoshop. Now once I've changed the color, I'm also going to make sure that I bump up the opacity to 100%. By default, it's set by 75, so I'm going to make it 100%. Now once I've got the carbonation set the way I want for the top of the bottle, I'm going to duplicate the layer by hitting Command D, and I'm going to turn off the one we just created, one of them, and I'll drag this one down because now I can distribute this so it seems to be more evenly inside the bottle as well. Now with the second layer selected, I'm going to go and I'm going to change the physics from explosion to jet sideways. And you'll see now it has a projection that's more vertical. That's something you may want to use up here, but in this case I'm going to use it so there seems to be carbonation in the drink bottle below as well. So at this point I'll probably go and I'll play with the X and Y scale here under Producer, and that's going to allow me to kind of make it fit the bottle perhaps. So if I was just more interested in the neck of the bottle, maybe I'd do something like that. Now, again, you'll use this and use your own take on all this stuff, but what I'm going to do now is turn the layers on, and I'm going to once again make sure I center each of these comps to the scale and proportions of the composition itself so that I have all of this done. Now, one thing I want to caution you is that in the case of this bottle, it's going to be cropped. Photoshop files that are exported as comps from After Effects crop to the dimensions of the composition window. So that's why I drag these back into the center so I can optimize that. I'm going to go to composition and I'm going to go to save frame as and Photoshop layers. But one thing I'm going to do before I do that is make sure, and this is paramount because you'll end up with a very low resolution picture, you have to change it back to 100%, and you'll see your comp window something like this. This will assure that the exported file is 200 dpi. I'm going to go to composition and I'm going to go to save frame as Photoshop layers, and I'll give it a name and I'll save that. And now we're going to go into Photoshop. I've opened up our file in Photoshop, the one that was generated in After Effects, and one thing we want to make note of is if we go to image size, you'll see that it's 23 by 30 and 72 dpi. So if you were going to work in this file, or if you just wanted to transfer the effects layers that we created, it might be a good idea to simply change this down to 8.5 inches by 11 and then 200 dpi. And that will be the exact proportion to the file that you might be working in if you've got a file you're going to move these into to composite, or if you were going to use this file itself, it's now the right resolution. So if I want to now, I'll quickly throw in a background layer. I won't go too far with this part of the tutorial. This is pretty much your own endeavor, but I'll quickly go in and add a background layer. And I'm going to get rid of those guides, they're video guides. And now I can start to distribute these layers where I'd like them to be. And then it's a matter of quickly going through your blend modes. I'll hit V on the keyboard for the carbonation inside the bottle. The effect you will finally use will be something that goes with the color of your bottle or the beverage inside. Then I'll go up to the layer with the carbonation coming out of the bottle. Maybe there's a blend mode, maybe you want to change the color. I'm going to quickly crop the carbonation that goes outside of the bottle's edges here where I don't want it by making a selection, holding the command key and clicking on the bottle shape itself, selecting the layer with the carbonation over it and clicking on the layer mask, and now it's contained to the inside of that. I might want to go and put a layer mask on the one coming outside here. And I think I'll just find another blend mode perhaps. I might drop the opacity a bit, and then I'll probably take a soft brush and I'll kind of use a low opacity brush to eliminate where it's a little bit congested up here. And also I want it to appear as if it's coming outside of the bottle itself, so I'll clear right along the ridge. If I wanted to, I could go in and start to clean up the carbonation inside the bottle as well. So usually where the bottle's a little bit more opaque, we might not see those bubbles. Now from here on, you're really on your own. It's just a matter of taking the time to go in and make this kind of a little bit more believable. I'm also eliminating it along the edges of the bottle where the bottle glass would not have carbonation against it. That's pretty much how you would use this effect.